You're listening to Montreal Now with Aaron Rand and Natasha Hall on CJAD 800.
That is James Mennie. He is over at the Montreal Gazette. And Jim, fair to say, not a very good day for Valerie Plante or the administration. We find out today that fire inspectors stopped investigating evacuation routes in 2018. That's 5 years ago. The mayor says she just found out today, did she not?
Yeah, she says she just found out today. There are several elements of this that are very, very concerning, not the least of which is it was the Globe and Mail in Toronto that broke this story. So I'm trying to figure out the sort of wiring on that story over there. The other thing I find intriguing, though, is that they're saying the reason they put this moratorium on inspections was because when the inspections were being done, they were falling down in court. You want to take a scofflaw landlord to court, and you couldn't nail them because the inspections themselves were insufficiently conducted, and the suggestion being that there is a lack of training within the force. Now, as Jason just told us, the Montreal Fire Department is going to have a presser in about 20 minutes to, I guess, explain themselves. But no matter what the explanation is, no one seems to be denying the fact this moratorium was in effect, and that's a little bit scary. But what's even scarier, guys, is that this story coincides with the tabling of the Auditor General's report for the City of Montreal. And there's always all kinds of fun stuff, like your program to maintain heritage buildings doesn't really have to have been carried out. And all these various policies that you're supposed to be executing are not being done. But the one finding I found most intriguing is that there is not just a lack of personnel, a lack of a labor shortage at the City of Montreal. That's everywhere. But more specifically, there is a lack of experienced labor. And when you consider that the City of Montreal, I mean, when you look at all the various things they have to look at, whether it's issues of engineering, whether it's issues of accounting, whether it's issues of public management, if we're missing that experience, that might explain a lot to some of the more head-scratching, policy decisions we've seen coming out of City Hall these days. But yeah, it's kind of. It's a bit spooky because I know, we concentrate on traffic cones and we try, potholes and whatever. But as we saw with the horrible fire in Old Montreal, you've got to keep an eye on this. And remember all the things we found out after that fire, not just about that building, but about other buildings in the area and Airbnbs in general. And the fact that the situation was so dangerous and so volatile that Quebec very quickly, as far as I'm concerned, adopted what is considered to be now a model kind of brass knuckle version of a law to keep Airbnbs in line. But man, oh man, not a good day for the Plante administration, and I'm pretty sure in the wake of the explanation we're going to receive from the fire department, she's going to have to say more than I was shocked. She's going to have to come step up with some very, very solid and hasty announcements about how that policy is going to change and how, indeed, the next time any policy is suspended for any reason whatsoever, the mayor of Montreal will not be the last person to find out. So
I get the sense in here. She finds out just now based on what the Globe and Mail had reported, and then there's a provincial body that lets the fire department know that, these cases are not panning out. How does someone not tell the city, though? Is it between the provincial arm and just the fire department?
Well, actually, I got to tell you, you may even be hitting closer to home than you know. I don't think it's the provincial prosecutors. I think those would be City of Montreal prosecutors. If they're in violation of the city's fire code, that's not a provincial matter. So your question is even more germane. Sometimes information is supposed to flow up, and it gets clogged in somebody's office, but it seems to have been clogged for an awfully long time. Yeah. I can only hope that question is asked this afternoon, but your point is very, very well taken. The mayor's not supposed to know everything that's going on in the city, but I do expect him or her to know the important stuff.
Well, I think this is what I worry about here is it's just going to become a case of passing the buck, right? So it was the Quebec Provincial Prosecutor Office that put this moratorium into effect, but then how do they not inform the city? I just feel like we're going to end up in a situation where everybody's going, he knew, she knew, and they didn't, and it's just going to be passing the buck and no real accountability.
Well, honestly, I think, I think it's pretty straightforward. I think we're going to find out more, as I say, this afternoon. But as Aaron mentioned, and that is a very striking element of this story, is that the mayor only signs that today.
Yeah.
We also have someone on the executive committee who's in charge of public security. We also have presumably people in the fire department who liaise with the city of Montreal, and indeed that executive committee member. There seems to have been more than a breakdown in communication here. I think there was and once again, that's probably why the City of Montreal Fire Department, which is not renowned for hastily calling press conferences,
right,
has in fact hastily called a press conference
at
today.
4:30. It's happening.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Let's talk about this ethics probe. We started off with Simon Jolin Barrette, of course, appointing that judge and pretending that, the independent committee basically said you have the go-ahead. And then I read a story today suggesting he took that list and basically ripped it up and said, I'll do what I want. Where are we on this?
Well, I think when you start this story, even though it's about Simon Jolin Barrette, you really have to start the story with the great pioneer, the Ferdinand Magellan of ethical exploration, Pierre Fitzgibbon, because we're talking about a guy here who faced down no less than 5 ethics probes, and in all of them. And remember, he had to step down from cabinet. I think it was ethics probe number 2. Because he either had to step down from cabinet because he didn't want to sell his shares because it would have cost him like $1 million.
Yeah.
Yep.
So he did this there was this like political theater. Okay, you're going to be out of cabinet for a while, then we'll wait, and then everything will calm down. You can come back into cabinet and indeed be the most important cabinet minister in Quebec. Okay? So when we move to chapter 2, it's clear that, yes, an ethics probe is a very, very serious business, unless, of course, you're a cabinet minister, at which point the word ethics is important only insofar as it rhymes with schmethics, okay? Nothing's going to happen with this. And in fact, I think we had a big hint, as you mentioned, Aaron, when he, after he gets, I can't think of a different verb right now, after he gets busted on this, and he says, well, I didn't have to express any sort of potential conflict of interest, even though this is one of his best buds. He officiated at Jean Barrette's wedding. I didn't have to. I guess if they change the rules, maybe we'll change the rules. Maybe we'll make it that way. But and this is what I love, and this is the hallmark of the CAQ government. He goes, but if I had to do it over again, I'd do it exactly the same way.
Oh, that tells you everything.
I love hearing that.
Yeah.
A finger-wagging report from the ethics commissioner, as honestly as efficient, as diligent as Ariane Mignolier, the commissioner, is, and she's had plenty of work to do with this government. Do you really think it's going to make a difference? Please don't take the pool on Jean Barrette being bounced from cabinet because of this, even though, let's face it, guys, not even 10 years ago, okay, 6 years ago, half this stuff, certainly Fitzgibbon, very likely Jean Barrette, this stuff would not have flown before 2018. I don't care. I know the Liberals had their own problems, but man, oh man, the idea that cabinet ministers can not only, clearly place themselves in a conflict of interest, but then kind of shrug and sort of say, well, what's it to you? I'm doing my job.
It's a great line. Yeah, what's it to you?
Part and parcel of what I see to be a larger deterioration in the fabric of not the government in Quebec, but of governing in Quebec. And if a growing number of people start shrugging over stuff like this, get ready for even more riotous headlines in the weeks to come.
Yeah, I wonder if this is unique to the CAQ, or you think this is unique to Quebec politics, the way it's evolved or devolved, I guess, over the last.
For the moment, I think the CAQ is doing a lot of pioneering on that front.
Oh.
I mean, we've had scandals, we've had headlines, most particularly with provincial Liberals, and that's an albatross they still have around their neck, even though they're not really present, east of Decarie Boulevard. But the fact is, the CAQ is special insofar as there's no even attempt at remorse or gee, or I made a mistake. I'm sorry, it won't happen again. It's essentially the message we're getting from this government, even from François Legault, who's gone to bat for Fitzgibbon on numerous occasions, gone to bat for Jean Barrette, is like, what's the big deal? And more importantly, what's it to you? I mean, this is what gets me about this. And honestly, if we become numb to this, I'm saying ethics schmethics, but I don't think I'm alone in that.
No.
And people will just shrug and say, you know what, it's the way government is, but it shouldn't be that way. And we're in danger of seeing that become normal now.
James Mennie, the Montreal Gazette. Thank you, Jim.
Adamant.